Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. I have two guests with me here, Junior and Jed. And before we go into that, everybody that's coming in, you know the question I'm going to ask. Where is everyone tuning in from? Where are you at? What's going on? We always like to see what is happening. Junior, where are you at today?
Oh man, I'm in a horribly named city, but great place. I'm in Lynchburg, Virginia. Not, not the best of names, but good people. I promise, good people.
Yeah, horribly named, but good as long as the people are good.
People are good. People are
Okay,
good.
okay. Like that's that's good. That's good. Jed, where are you tuning in from?
My bad. I just realized I was backstage and I just joined, so that's my bad. I didn't.
I just saw you like chopping up by yourself, and I was like, well, you could come on stage.
I thought it was gonna automatically move me to the front stage. It's my bad. What's up, everybody? Happy to be here. Yeah, because I was listening to y'all. I'm like, I'm not even on the screen with y'all. I'm here in Tampa, St. Pete, Florida. Just moved here a few months ago.
Good stuff. Okay, we got some people all across the globe here. We got Canada. We got London. Wait. This one's confused me. It said solar system Poland. I'm like, dang, this person is just teleporting around. You see this one? It says like Poland, Europe, Earth, solar system.
Solar system.
Oh yeah, what the
Sounds like a actually, this is a very random question because it makes me think of teleporting because of all the locations they just put. If you had to pick for both of you one superpower, what would it be before we hop into the content?
Oh, this is so easy. Read minds for sure.
I feel like that one's so chaotic.
No, not like I can't turn it off, but like the ability to read anybody's mind.
You can't turn it off?
No, you can, right? Like if you can turn it off, then that's the way. Okay. You can get like anything out of life if you know what people are thinking. That'd be amazing.
It's a little scary. I don't know. I get it though.
That one's not
It'd be good for sales, I guess. I think mine would probably be flying. Just classic. You know what I mean? That'd be pretty sick.
Yeah. Run out of oxygen and die. Is that what you want?
That's
valid. I feel like reading people's mind is like it sounds cool for like a week, and then you'd be like, I'm literally corrupted. Like you're getting me so dated.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's you. That's you. So, all right, everybody, welcome to the show. What we're going to do here is we are going to break down today some LinkedIn and some email messaging. We have some tactics to share on how to 2x your reply rates across the board. But before we do that, you're probably wondering, who are these people? What are they about? Why do they pick these superpowers? They're still in question. But the first person we're going to go with is Junior. Tell us, you already told us where you're from, but tell us what your role, what you do. And yeah, we'll dive into it.
Yeah, I am an AE for Sendoso. I sell a gifting platform to marketers. I used to sell to salespeople, and selling to marketers is so different and weird. And they like want to know all the little tips and tricks, but they don't want to buy stuff. So there you have
it. Steve, we just talked about this. Did you plant this one, Junior? Did you plant this comment?
No, I did not.
You planted the comment. We literally.
I did not. I don't even know who Steve.
Oh no way.
This is
Steve. You seem like a good guy.
This is literally hilarious because we said the same thing, Steve. So I don't know if you were lurking behind the scenes and heard our conversation. That's literally what we just talked about. All right, Jed, what? Talk to us.
Yeah, Jed Marley. I'm recently started my own company about a year ago. Practical Prospecting. We help primarily Series A, Series B, B2B startups set up outbound system to help them book more meetings at scale. Do a few other things, but that's the main thing I've been doing for the last year now. And we honestly, some of the examples we're going to share, we work with customers across a lot of different industries, selling to a lot of different ICPs. And so if y'all are selling to a specific industry, a specific type of persona, I would love to see that in the chat, and I'll see if I have any specific examples around those personas or industries to share.
Awesome. Yo, I don't believe Steve. I think he was lurking. I'm calling it right now.
Yeah, that's actually crazy.
It's too timely. It makes no sense. But all right, so I'm your host, Morgan. I help Cognism with their content as well over the creative and run these shows. I also run a company where we help produce shows, live shows for B2B companies with subject matter experts and influencers to produce pipeline. And that's what we're going to talk about today, which is obviously pipeline. So at the end of the day, so shout out to Tiki Barber. That's actually a really good one too. But let's go into the actual agenda. we're going to talk about email and LinkedIn messaging tips. You're going to get live feedback on emails and outreach messages and Q&A. Now, during this conversation today, if you have questions, please put please put them in the Q&A because I will revert to them. We'll have a conversation around them and we will loop them into the conversation. So no, this is not a completely isolated conversation. If you have like, hey, I want to mention this, I have a question, I don't really know what's going on here, put it inside of the Q&A and we will 100% answer it. So with that being said, let's dive into a tip. So my top tip, this isn't anything actually earth-shattering, but actually it helped me out a lot when I was a rep, full sales cycle when I was at DV Sales, and even now as a founder. So the main thing that I'll call out is when you're doing a LinkedIn message or an email message, I highly encourage you to read it out loud. This actually is my top tip. Because when you read your message out loud, you'll realize, wow, that's a lot of fluff that doesn't make a lot of sense. That's jargon that I would never reply to. That's a lot. That's a mouthful of words that like I wouldn't even like engage with. That sentence is way too long. When we write things out, it's sometimes we write it in a language that's very, let's say, very off, very strange, right? We write in a language that's just like doesn't make sense, to be fair. So ultimately, in the day, when we write in a language that to us we think will respond, but when we read it out loud, we realize it doesn't. That means every other prospect we reach out to is going to feel the same. So my recommendation at the end of the day for everyone is your main focus, right? And your main thing should be reading these out loud and cutting the fat of what you have there to make a better message. Even to the degree, if you're like me and you're better, let's say, better at voice notes or videos and you prefer that type of method of communication, I would even encourage you to write your emails with a voice to text. Talk as if you were writing the email and then make your edits from there. So that's like my top tip when it comes to emails and LinkedIn messages that I've found to be very beneficial for me, that has helped me convert opportunities. Anything that y'all want to say on that as a follow-up? But that's just like my feedback, but I'm curious what y'all think.
Honestly, I haven't heard the idea of writing your emails voice to text. I think that's a really good idea because everybody has their own preferred method of communication or ways that they're better at communicating. And I don't consider myself very good at video and voice notes and that sort of stuff as much. But when I am doing those things, I script. Like I consider myself a much better writer. So I do the opposite. I script it out first, and then I read it for the video or the voice note or whatnot. So I think that's a great tip. I absolutely agree.
Anytime I've been stuck and I've read it out loud, I've been stuck because it doesn't make sense. So yeah, great. Like overall strategic advice, read what you send. It'll help so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, Harry asked this question. I'm going to allow it up to you two before we go to Junior, your top tip. Is it better to be informal in your LinkedIn and cold emails?
I can take a stab at that, Junior, if you want to go after as well. I don't think it's like it's better or worse to be informal or not. I think it's just more so about like how you communicate and what's going to come across more natural. Like specifically when it comes to cold calling, if you're not naturally informal, like don't try to be informal. Just act normally because like your tone has such a big impact on that. When it comes to email, I do think it's a little bit more clear. I personally like across any sort of persona or industry I sell to, I try to lean more towards informal, just because I believe most other emails are trying to be a bit too formal. But the other thing you have to keep in mind too is that when you're writing emails, you want it to come across like it's kind of like an internal email or something that they would get from a colleague. And so if you are selling into an industry where they tend to communicate a lot more formally, then maybe it makes more sense to be a bit more formal. But I think the overall understanding is that like whether they're a C-suite at a mega company, they all still communicate the same when they're with their friends and family. So we should kind of communicate on that level as well.
Harry, don't hate me for this, but rather than is it better to be informal, I think the most important thing is to be clear, right? Like make sure that your message is clear, whether it's formal or informal, casual, whatever language you want. Like you have to be clear in what you're asking or what you're telling them. So that would be my go-to there.
I'll pull this up here too because in my opinion, it's better to be formal but slightly personal, like include a name, speak to the person directly, like you'd be on the phone or know them. What do you think of that? So I guess that's essentially what you're saying there, Junior, this comment from Gene.
Yeah. And so include a name, right? People love to read or see or hear their own name. I've seen some people do this pretty successfully, like dropping their own personal name multiple times in an email, but like strategically. So definitely could work.
Yeah. I was gonna say I think it's a great Junior, the idea of putting adding their name multiple times throughout the email. I've seen it done really poorly. Like when you have that salesperson, they're constantly saying your name, and it's like, all right, I know what you're doing. But I've also seen really good emails where they sprinkle it in, and it actually looks a lot more natural. So that's a good point. It's hard to do right, but it's a good idea.
Hamza has always been successful for me when I'm informal and very direct with the objective of what we're looking for as a little touch point. So I think this is interesting too. Like, I know we're gonna move on to the top tip from Junior here. Is it more so also like who you're targeting? Like if you're going after like an IT director versus like a VP of sales, that it also would change the language too. I know that we've all sold to different people, but I'm curious.
I think when I first started writing emails, the higher up the ladder when I was prospecting, the more formal I would be, and I would try to use bigger words and stuff like that. But I almost feel like it's reversed now, and I'm more informal with a VP or an executive because seeing the way they communicate their emails, they tend to be much quicker, much more to the point. They're not in their email as much; they're just trying to get in and out. And so I try to match that pattern where it's shorter emails, more to the point. I'm not trying to be super formal. Honestly, to Junior's point, what's far more important than anything is just how clear did you write or how clear did you communicate? And that's what I prioritize over everything else.
Yeah, just being human. Everyone goes home and watches Netflix. Like C-suite, they're watching Netflix. VPs, they're watching Netflix. So being human, it works.
So then we're going to go to you, Junior. What is your top tip?
Are we talking email or LinkedIn or both?
Well, okay, both. I mean, if you got the bag, then you can do both. I'm just saying.
Okay. Okay, buckle up for this. Now,
okay.
So something that I've been testing recently with pretty good success is a double CTA. So I'm going to ask essentially a question, make a statement, then ask relatively the same question again. So there used to be data points around don't ask more than one question in your email, otherwise you won't get as high replies. That might still apply, but what I'm actually doing is basically asking the same question twice in my email. So it'll sound something like this. I sell a gifting platform, right? I'll say something like, have you ever sent gifts in a previous campaign? That's not the end, right? Then I'm saying found, insert their competitor name in Salesforce. They've been customers for 2 years, 3 years, whatever. Think a gifting strategy would help for, and then I'll name a specific reason. So it's have you done this previously? Another statement. And then do you think a gifting strategy would help? Right. And it kind of pulls them into it, out of it, then back into it. I found it to work pretty well. So that's one. I've got another example of that same type of question.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay. So here's another way I would ask that question, right, is what's your experience been with event logistics? Heard, if I know they're using a competitor, right? Heard that my competitor started doing this last year. And then I'll drop, how do you manage multi-city events? Something that I know we do better than everybody else, more of the gotcha. But event logistics, pull them in, kind of pull them out. And then the second question is draw them back in on something that they're for sure doing and struggling with most likely. So question, statement, question. I'll pause there.
What have you seen and I know Harry said that's good. Other people can provide comments. What have you seen the difference in response rates by doing that framework now?
Yeah. I don't have a direct statistical number because I've sent it less than 1,000 times, right? And that's probably a good benchmark. I mean, Jed's doing this in mass for a lot of customers. So Jed, you test this, and then next week tell us the direct.
Here you go.
Keep going. Yeah.
But I have seen just in people that I am prospecting, I'm getting more responses for sure. And I tend to test and tweak things quite a bit, and this is the thing that I've been testing the most recently.
I like that a lot, Junior. I've done emails like that a lot as well, where it's you lead with some sort of personalization or research in your first sentence. Your second sentence is kind of asking a question to provoke pain or get them to think. which is exactly what you're talking about. You kind of talk about how you solve that or have some sort of social proof, and then you have your call to action. And I think like that also goes to show that there's a lot of rules on like what you should do in your emails. It should only be one question, one call to action, or it should be this length. But in reality, like everyone's situation is different, and I think those rules can and should be broken if you test them and you see they work. So I like that example a lot.
Yeah.
I want to bring this up because someone just asked, can you type out or share that question and statement again? Maybe they're asking for maybe an example of something you've done so you can share with everybody.
Yeah. Maybe they're a Sendoso competitor too. Junior, I don't know.
Back up, Jackie. Back up.
That also is true. You could be getting compromised. I don't want you to get compromised. That's also a very valid point.
The example would be like, what's your experience with event logistics, right? And then heard so-and-so started doing this last year. How do you manage multi-city events, right? That's like a prime example of text I would actually use in the email.
Snappy spies in the chat.
Snappy.
Unbelievably dead. All right, so that's Junior tip. Really good, solid tip. Let's now go to Jed. What top tip do you have for us?
Yeah, mine would be to use more creative call to actions and offerings in your cold emails if you're struggling to get the response rates that you want to see. So I'll give you some three specific examples and kind of like background on this. I think like 5 years ago or 5+ years ago, a lot of people were using the call to action of asking for a specific time. Like, do you have availability next Friday at this time? And then there was like a big gone case study of people using interest-based call to actions. Would you be open to learning more? Does this sound interesting? I think those call to actions are still great, especially if you have a high value product that is in demand. It's a need to have, not necessarily nice to have. Those call to actions can still work. But a lot of people, no matter how well your list is built, how personalized your message is, it's still hard to get a high response rate with those sort of call to actions. And the reason why is because people are getting prospected so much, especially in competitive industries. And these executives don't have time to just take demos of everybody. And they also know that when they respond to those call to actions, like, would you be open to learning more? They're going to be roped into a meeting in the next email. Right? They're going to immediately try to get them in a call. And so what I try to do with people who maybe are struggling to get high responses is we will have some sort of like offer-based call to action. So for example, there's a YouTube agency that I recently worked with, and they're trying to reach out to companies who are trying to build their brand on YouTube. Instead of just trying to go straight for a meeting to talk about how they can help with that, we basically condensed their knowledge into basically a checklist for how to get started on YouTube, how to build your brand, how to build your voice. And in our call to action, we'd say, hey, we built like a 10-step checklist around how to go from this to this many subscribers on YouTube. Do you want us to send over the checklist? A lot of people would say yes to that. And then once they've seen that content, we can follow up and get the meeting. Another example for a staffing company, instead of just trying to go straight for the meeting, this is kind of an obvious example that a lot of people can use, is we would research their job descriptions and send them very direct candidate profiles and say, hey, I found this person based on your job description. Let me know if you'd be jumping on a call after that to see if you want to look at some of our other candidates. A lot of examples. So like checklists, free access to your product if you can, PDFs, ebooks, they have to be good. They have to actually provide value. Short videos. Do you mind if I send a quick video on how this works? Those sort of things can get people to loosen up, respond more because they know they're not being immediately roped into a meeting, and it helps you build trust with them so you can eventually book that meeting.
I want to comment on the quick screen, the one that you mentioned. I don't know if anybody else in the chat's using it. People have been using that strategy on me to like sell me as like a founder on like YouTube strategy or Twitter DMs or Instagram, whatever, outbound messages. And they're like, hey, I did this thing. Do you want to see the video? I always say yes. These videos are pretty good. Like I've taken some meetings because like they break it down. They're like, they were prepared. They're like, yep, these are your topics. This is what you're looking to do. And I didn't even explain it yet. And so they were like, here's suggested stuff. And I think one of the things is that like, yes, at the end of the day, you could be giving a lot of information they could go execute. But at the same time, the fact that they took the time and the effort to do it so well, I'm more likely actually to take the meeting with them and hear them out at least. And I've taken majority of the meetings. Some of them aren't applicable because we're just not like we're not just like, we're not ready for that. But for the most part, some of them are like, this is actually pretty good. So definitely recommend what Jed is saying. It's been huge.
That's awesome. That's a good example. And you're right, Morgan. Like some people will just take the information and run with it. But then, like also to your point, you would never have a shot with them anyways. So at least you've built, you got a response, you got a shot at it, whereas you wouldn't have if you just went straight for the meeting.
And I'll be like super transparent. I've actually they sent the video and I was like, oh, we're just gonna do it ourselves. And then like a month in, I'm like, yo, we're getting cooked. We need to go. We actually need to go back to this person. So like, I would also say if you feel like you're giving too much away, I'm gonna shout out to Alex Ramos. He says this a lot. Is that like people pay for the implementation and the execution. So even if you give the information, I myself could still go try to execute this thing, but I'm not going to have as much insight and knowledge as the person who broke it down for me. And that's also the reason why they know you at some point you're going to come back. So I just thought it was really interesting in what I've seen there across the board. Okay, so let's go into a couple questions, and then we're actually going to go into some live stuff that Jeff's going to show us. But let's talk about this. What do you think about cadences or DMs that are more provoking to cut through the noise? Like, I'm assuming, is that like GIFs or GIFs? Like, unless y'all just have thoughts on things that can cut through the noise, I'm curious on what y'all think.
Yeah, if you want to add more context on this, that'd be great in the chat. And I can go, I don't know, Junior, you have thoughts, I can give some thoughts, but also if they have more context, I think it help us give a better answer.
Yeah, more context for sure.
Okay, cool. We'll wait for the more context. We'll this Ricky, I've talked about this a lot. Huge fan of voice messages. I talk about it a lot, but you can't do them on InMail. You can only do them through the LinkedIn platform, like First Degree Connected. So just something to be mindful of. But I am overall a massive and huge fan of this.
I agree. It's a really simple way to stand out.
I was going to say
that kind of answers part of the last question, where it's like, what are some things to cut through the noise in terms of DMs, voice notes? I've been getting a lot of like in-app LinkedIn videos. Have you guys seen that? Where it's like, it's not a video platform link. You know what I mean? It's not like a Loom or one of those videos. It's like recorded. Yeah, it's like recorded in LinkedIn. Like you can record a video straight from the DMs.
Yeah, that's a huge one as well. And I know a lot of video platforms, they probably don't like me saying this, but I actually find it like more beneficial because if you put it inside of the actual, I try to reduce the amount of steps and clicks people have to take. Yeah. At the end of the day. So that is going to exponentially reduce the amount of clicks that people would take based on that.
Jed, I think to do that, you have to do it on the mobile app, right?
I think so. I've never sent one. I've just received them. I think you have to do it on the mobile app.
You can't do it on the computer.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Mobile only. Okay.
Yeah.
We're waiting for that clarification. Okay. Okay. Here it is. So this is the clarification from the last question that we were asking questions on. Like marketing emails are very light, maybe compared to AE emails. Some AEs tend to poke, send screenshots of some problems, maybe bad reviews. Okay, so this is like, how are you adding in screenshots and other things and variables? That's essentially how I'm reading this.
The reason I think an AE can do this is if they slow down and they don't take that like, I'm going to scale this approach and just do this across like some accounts that they really care about. And you're going to have to do some research, right? I recently did this. This was not like cold email to get my foot into the door, but to progress a deal further. I went through Salesforce and I found all of their competitors that like do the exact same thing as them in a very similar way that are also Sendoso customers. Right. And like, I use that as a way to like provoke them into some emotion or like feeling like they should do this. And that helped a lot. On the cold side, if you do that from a cold standpoint, you run a couple of risks, I think, to like offending them and to them thinking like, you think they're better than me and I'm not doing that, but it could still work.
Yeah. I'll add that like to Junior's point about, like the personalization, slowing down, doing that sort of stuff. And I think I hope I'm not saying your name wrong. Tatis, correct me if I'm wrong. But anyways, like your initial question of how to cut through the noise in email and DMs. I think it's about knowing where to research first. Like you have to know like what are the things you need to look for that'll help you actually make your email stand out and look well researched. Like I don't know Sendoso that well, but I'll just use Junior's situation as an example. Like potentially if a company just hired like an ABM person, right, that might indicate that now they're going to start investing in some more like higher level campaigns with gifting and things like that. And that could be something that will help you cut through the noise if you mention that. And so you have to know like what those things are for your company that indicate to you that they could be experiencing the problems you solve. And I can share some examples on that too a little bit later in the call. But I just like to brainstorm like, hey, what are all the possible things that could happen within a company or things I could find or potentially look for that would indicate to me there's a potential problem or a need for our solution. And those are the things that you have to look for and include in your messaging to cut through the noise.
Hopefully I've answered the question for you right there. And then let's get to one more and then we'll show some messaging. So Paul's question, what are your thoughts on AI generated video messages?
Yeah. I thought they would be super cool and that I could like use them and kind of mass send them, but they come off pretty inauthentic. And I'm not a huge fan as of late. The ones that I've seen, it's like you're not really saying their name and it's using AI to then like, you know, kind of fudge their name, but still say it. And then like browsing, sometimes it'll be like a video of you kind of browsing their website, but that's also not real. I don't think it allows you to be genuine. And I don't really think it allows you to like, if you are well researched, to show why you're actually reaching out and what you're trying to do. But if you want to hit it in scale, then there, you know, AI generated video is a way to do that.
Yeah, I would say I agree with Junior. I think the best use case for it is probably, well, first off, what I want to say is in 2020, I remember looking at, I can't remember the name of the tool, but I remember looking at AI generated videos and it was awful. Like it was so obvious to tell. And then I just looked at it again. There's another company that's doing it really well. And it's actually like, it's pretty decent. Like you can't, it's kind of hard to tell. I mean, the person in the chat just said they couldn't tell either. I think if you do it right, it can look pretty smooth. But to Junior's point, it's not very genuine. And I think the only situation where I would do it is like if you have a huge TAM and you're going after like SMB where you can pretty much scale as much as you need to. And you have like a very targeted list where they all have a lot of similarities and you can send a very similar video to a lot of them. And you were already going to send the same video to all of them pretty much anyways. And so you just kind of automate it with AI. Like, I think that's kind of the best use case. I also see some people doing some interesting stuff where it's like, if they connect with them on LinkedIn or view their profile, they have an automation where they send an AI automated video. I don't really know about that. Like there's some weird automations that people are doing. I see some people that say it works. And so I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I think there are some small use cases where it can work.
Yeah, I feel like the AI videos are more campaign focused than they are targeted or personalized focus. Like at the end of the day, I don't think that you're like, okay, I'm going to send this personalized video and then we're going to AI it. I don't think that's the right move per se. So I would encourage everyone to think about like from the AI perspective, how you're going about that and how you're looking to do it. I think it's more campaign segment focused. You just mentioned SMB. It is getting better though. So in the next 5 years, it's going to look pretty crazy. But right now, I don't leverage it as much. I just stick to the personalized videos because I know that's going to stand out and I know that's going to win at the end of the day. So I don't deviate from that path.
Morgan, I got a question for you. What do you think about this strategy? I did this in 2021 fairly successfully. So I used to shoot like 30-second to 45-second videos to David. Be like, hey, David, Junior Cullen from Pickle, message, whatever. It's like 45 seconds. Then I would pull a list of like 50 to 100 Davids and send that to all of them. And this was like my, 2021 AI generated video. And it worked, it worked decently. It was just like a quick 2 email cadence, like the video and like follow up,
I'm not against it actually. I mean, as long as the messaging makes sense and it's like it probably have to be something persona based. Yeah, it's gonna hit. I'm not against that at all.
There were a couple of videos where like I'd be like, "Hey Morgan, Junior Cullen from Pickle," and they'd be like, "Hey, I'm on a call right now." And then I go back to the video, so they felt like it was like happening in real time. But
You did that too. You're not that far.
I can get pretty desperate. All right, I can get pretty desperate.
That's a good tactic though. That could work.
Yeah,
And it did work obviously for you. So this is funny. That's a move.
yeah.
I'm not against that move at all. Yeah. See, now everyone's fired up. Now everyone's gonna try it. I'm not against this at all. You just have to make sure that you don't like if you do a super personalization and do that, yeah, you're gonna get in trouble. But if you do that as like a baseline of what that is, then like, yeah, I'm actually with that. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. Could be fun.
All right. Now it's time to review some emails. Jed, if you want to share your screen, we're gonna go through and we're gonna talk about a couple emails to you all so you can use these frameworks. I saw a couple questions.
Yeah, man.
We'll get into that too, but we'll dive into it.
Cool. Are y'all seeing my screen right now?
We see what is this? Military vets.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna first off, just to give clarification, everyone on this call. Basically, what we do at Practical Prospecting, we run cold email campaigns on behalf of a little over 15 companies right now. The ones that I'm going to share right now are ones that I have clearance to share examples and things of that nature. Obviously, nobody rip and replace these templates completely, like make these things your own. I'm just here to share frameworks and ideas of things that have worked. So just wanted to give that kind of heads up. So I'm going to share two examples, and then Junior and Morgan, if you guys have questions or things to add, let me know. So this first example, they basically train military vets and former athletes for sales roles and then place them at growing companies. It is actually like a SaaS platform. So pretty much you sign up for a subscription with the company Shift Group. Once you have a subscription, you're able to hire X many reps every quarter based on what you pay. And it's a portal where you can see their profiles, cold call recordings, things like that. So they're training military vets and athletes, and they're placing them at companies. And so an exercise we like to do, and I kind of touched on earlier talking about Junior and Sendoso, is we'll look at what are all the potential signals or things that would tell us a prospect or an account may have a need or may have interest in what we're trying to sell. And so a very obvious example is former military vets, probably want to hire vets as well. They have that loyalty to them and they may be interested. Those are people that we want to reach out to. So we went on Sales Navigator and we built a list of people who are military vets and are now in sales leadership roles that are currently hiring. You can see metrics on this campaign. It wasn't like a crazy high volume campaign, but it's just an example of something we ran earlier this year. And then this is kind of an example of what the template looks like. Now you're going to see a lot of like these sentences with the brackets here. This is spin text, so it's essentially spinning these multiple sentences for every single email. That way the template feels fresh for all the people we're sending out to. It's a feature that a lot of sales engagement tools have where they spin different text. But this is very simple. It doesn't really have a lot of personalization, to be honest, compared to some of the emails we send. So that's kind of why I wanted to share this example as a pretty simple framework. And so we're just calling out what we noticed your experience in the military. As a proven sales leader, the military backgrounds provides the work ethic and resiliency needed to be successful in sales. We talk about the value proposition of what we do. And then whether they're hiring or not, or if they are, we kind of mention that. So we'll also look and see if they have open job positions. If not, we'll say it doesn't look like you're hiring right now, but wanted to put this on your radar. If they are hiring, we'll mention the job posting. And then these are our call to actions. Super light, and it kind of goes with what I was talking about earlier. Do you mind if I check in from time to time? This call to action gets a really high response rate across a lot of different campaigns because we're just trying to see, is there any interest at all? I'm not trying to get a meeting with you right away. Not everybody's ready to take a meeting, but do you mind if I check in from time to time? So if you feel like you're writing really good emails but you're not getting responses, try this call to action. Do you mind if I check in from time to time? You might get a few more responses saying, sure, like check in with me next month. And then obviously you have to put in the work to follow up and get the meeting. Do you mind if I give you access to the candidate portal? Again, this is like an offer-based call to action. Do you mind if I send additional information? Again, kind of like an offer-based call to action. So I'll pause there. I'll share some more examples, but I'm curious if you guys have any thoughts or if there's questions. I can't see the chat right now, so I don't know if there's other questions coming up.
No, so my clarification question is, okay, so this last part, do you mind if I check in from time to time? That's the call to action. I'm curious why you may not have that as like a PS and have a different call to action.
Honestly, that's a good point. I never thought about that. I could, like to your point, Morgan, I could just say like, do you mind if I send additional information? Or I could use one of these call to actions. And then the PS could say like, no worries if not, mind if I check in from time to time if it's not a priority right now. I think that's a great way to restructure it, and I actually might do that.
That was my main one. Junior, I don't know if you had anything to add.
No, I like just from the look of this email, one, you have like a perfect understanding of ICP. I think a lot of companies, like Sendoso would be like, demand gen leaders, it's SaaS companies, but like this is what actual ICP looks like. So good. I also like, if you look at first sentence is them, second sentence is them, third is you, then your ask. So them, you, ask. I think that framework right there. If like you can't even have really good messaging, if it was just like them, then you, then some ask, that alone would get you more replies today.
I completely agree. Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, it's like you're starting the whole first half of the email just talking about them to really get them kind of bought into what you're going to ask for.
I'm actually just curious, Jed, on this, because I have a thought process on this, but I've seen conflicting opinions on this. For the first sentence, it's like, hey, notice your experience in the military, instead of just starting the sentence with as a like, hi, whatever the name is. As a proven sales leader, you know that a military background provides the work ethic or resiliency needed to succeed in sales. Do you find, and this is very, I'm just curious, do you find that saying, hey, I'm noticing your experience in military and then saying the military background? Or does the sentence of, as a proven sales leader, you know that a military background provides the work ethic and resiliency needed to succeed in sales, does that satisfy the notice part? Or I'm curious if you A/B tested that to that level.
So I didn't A/B test that, and honestly, that's a good point. I think there's a lot of redundancies between the third sentence, or the second sentence, the first sentence, and the subject line. Like, I'm calling out the military experience in 3 different sections. And so to your point, I probably could have just done that. And also, there is a lot of people that are, I mean, it's very common now to open your emails with, I saw this, I noticed this, it looks like this. And so people are starting to like turn on that mental spam filter. I did like, we didn't A/B test that, but I was really happy with the open rates on this one.
That's crazy.
And so, if the open rate's really low, as I think a lot of people understand, the preview text is a really important part of the open rates. So I think if that was lower, the open rates, then I might have changed it up. But I think just because we had the high open rates, we stuck with it and didn't make additional edits. But it probably would be a better email and shorter if we just removed this and, to your point, stuck with this.
I think this overall is a great email. I'm just calling out some things for people to keep in mind and notice, but let's go to the next email.
Yeah, really good point. So this is a little bit more of a more personalized example. Again, same company. All these brackets here are personalization filters, custom fields. This one's a little bit more excessive with the personalization. What I want to call out here is that, a lot of people know this, maybe some people don't, but like, job postings are a really good way to get information about how to personalize your outreach, because job postings from a company are explaining the responsibilities, the problems they have, their internal tools and processes. There's a gold mine of information that you can pull out from there to personalize your messaging. And so what we're doing here is this is a campaign that we run where we see they're hiring sales reps. We scrape the job posting and we just basically personalize it around that job posting. So we're talking about the location of the job, if it's an on-site role. And if that's the case, then we're mentioning our sales reps who are located in that area. And then we're mentioning veterans or athletes. So basically we look at their profile and we try to determine whether they would be more likely to hire a veteran or an athlete. There's some things we do around that. But again, there's a lot of personalization in the subject line there. And so then it's, saw your open role. We mentioned the job role that you posted X days ago. Curious if this is still open. So kind of the junior's point, like we're leading with a question here. And then we have another call to action down at the bottom. Across the 300 companies we've helped say high ramp times, attrition are the top 2 challenges that they face when trying to fill whatever that job posting is, let's say SDR, account executive. And then this email is talking a little bit more about us. We have really good rates in terms of how quickly the reps we place get promoted or how low the attrition rate is. So that is a good metric to include. I think I'm usually against including metrics because a lot of times they're really generic. But if you have really good metrics like, attrition rate of lower than 5% for the people we place is really good, and it's a metric worth sharing. So we share that. And then this is a little bit more of a, I guess, generic call to action. We're just saying would you be open to learning more about how we can do this for your company? The reason why we don't really have an offer-based call to action is because they have a job posting, they're in our ICP. This is like a perfect lead, so we just want to kind of go for the call. Yeah, this one's a little bit more like a lot of custom fields, a little bit more personalization here. But curious if you guys have any thoughts on this one, or I can share a couple more examples too.
I want to what Gene said right here, metrics. I think, again, to Jed's point, it's 100% okay to add metrics if it's relevant to the industry and you can pinpoint to something. I think the most detrimental thing you can do in an email is just say, hey, we just increase ramp time by 20%. It's too vague and no one's really going to believe you. But if you're tying it to something by saying, and this is an example, by placing sales trained veterans and athletes on teams like Boom, and the company name is relevant to what you're reaching out to, that's going to land home even more. But I don't know if you're for or against this, but I'm actually for it if it's relevant, right? If it's not, it's a different conversation. But when it's relevant, you're good.
Yep, I'm with you. Metrics when there's a purpose, when it has a reason, as compared to just the ones that you would find on anybody's website.
Right.
100%. Cool. I guess Morgan, if it's cool of you, I'll share one more example that I think a lot of people can use.
One more. We'll answer a few questions and then we'll be out of here.
Okay, I'll be quick on this one. This is a campaign that we just launched. It's much lower volume. Something I think a lot of people can run if you have people that are active on LinkedIn. This is a company that sells to data analytics roles, engineering roles, kind of like technical personas. And their executive team, a lot of people higher up in the company, post a lot on LinkedIn and they get pretty decent engagement. And so what we did is we actually created an email address for the people who are posting on LinkedIn pretty consistently. And then we're sending emails to the ICP leads, right? Because not everybody who engages on those LinkedIn posts are ICP. We're sending emails to those folks to book meetings. And so this is a campaign we just launched at the end of July. Again, it's really low volume, 200 leads, really good response rate. And we've got 7 meetings out of it so far. The open rate's a little bit lower compared to some of the other examples. This is kind of what it looks like. And so I'm sure a lot of y'all, and put it in the chat if you have seen these posts where it's like you engage with somebody and then they just immediately reach out to you like, hey, I saw you like this LinkedIn post. Is this a problem? Do you want to book a meeting? Like we all get those emails. And I think those emails are really overdone. And the reason why they don't work is because just because somebody liked a relevant LinkedIn post doesn't mean they're ready to buy your platform or take a meeting. So we try to offer something first. And so the email looks like this. We're reaching out to people engaged with a LinkedIn post. We're saying, hey, first name, thanks for engaging on my LinkedIn post regarding whatever the topic was. I was on your company page and noticed whatever sort of research we found. Is data analytics and data literacy a big focus at company name? If so, we created a free mini course on how to master skills like Python and Power BI, which are data tools to upskill your team's data analytics skills. Would you be open to checking it out? And so we're just sending that course. It's just like a mini course that we created on YouTube to these decision makers. They share with their team. And then once they've checked out the course, we follow up a few days later and say, hey, was curious to get your thoughts on that course. Let me know if you'd be jumping on a call, and we actually give our pitch to take a meeting. And so this campaign is working really well. Again, it's not super high volume, but it's something that a lot of people can do if you can find relevant LinkedIn posts and lead with some sort of offering. It's not just going for a meeting.
I like the mini course because then they're opting into even more information. I like that a lot because most people like, I don't know, I've seen the stuff where I think over time probably all of us probably have been used in an email where it's like, saw that you like Jed's post, let's schedule a meeting.
Yeah.
So
I have gotten those from you, by the way. Not from you, but like I know for a fact that I had the Morgan post email.
Oh my dude, I should get so much commission from that for real. But yeah. I'm not even kidding. It's so absurd. But if you look at this year though, like for sure, it's like because everyone says thanks for engaging in the post, let's meet. I like saying, hey, thanks for engaging in the post. Here's something similar to that topic to check out even more. I really like that.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're trying to do. Like we assume they're already interested in that topic, so let's give them more. It comes from us. after that, they might be interested in learning more about what we have to offer them.
I like that.
I'll go ahead and stop sharing that. Yeah, those are examples. I didn't see if there was any questions in the chat too, but yeah, if y'all got more questions on that, let me know.
Now you're Kobe. See, the crazy part is, Junior, is when I don't have my glasses on and I have a buzz cut, I also am Kobe. So
You also are Kobe. You're kind of tripping, Harry. Kind of tripping.
Harry's been tripping since Jump Street. I can actually dunk.
Since like 8th grade, brother. Since 8th grade.
I can actually legitimately dunk. No, I will not accept Stephen A. Smith, Paul.
That's crazy, dude. That's
how you just that's how you just root the conversation right there. That's actually, you guys want to know how to get negative response rates? That's the greatest.
Hey, notice you look like
I don't even want to hear this right now. But okay, so let's see this right here. I love more examples of do you have any more call to actions that you would suggest here? All right, we shared a good bit. Like Marissa, you can let
we did share a lot.
You shared a good bit. I don't know if you wanted more, but this was the most voted question. So I want to make sure that we at least addressed it.
So I can share a couple. So here, I have a list of things that we often use. So like, do you want to see a 1 minute? Would you be open to seeing a short video about this works? Would you be open to jumping on a call to discuss this further? No call to action. That's been interesting, specifically for follow-up emails. If you already gave a call to action in your previous email, and then you're kind of bumping that email, just try giving more information or a customer success story, and then just leaving no call to action. Another one for people that have podcasts, if you're going after really high value accounts, is like a podcast invite. So like you try, and this is like really like high value accounts that you want to close, but you're reaching out to the executive team, and if you have some sort of podcast, just say, hey, would you be open? We'd love to have you on our podcast. And then that's a way to start getting into the account. It's not super applicable to a lot of people, but I don't know. Those are a few other examples.
Yeah.
If you have a really relevant webinar, embed into the webinar, that's tough to do because it's hard. Not a lot of companies run good webinars. You know what I mean? But if you have a good one that's relevant, this is an example, then go for that.
Jed, on your podcast note, so I used to run a podcast called How I Deal, and the way that we went about getting AEs on the podcast was emailing target account VP of sales and saying, hey, is there an AE you would nominate from your team that I can get on this podcast? Then I would send them like a couple of episodes, be like, here's my favorite ones. Then your reps can like come and showcase a little bit about your company. And yeah, it was awesome. Like VPs of sales, one, they like love to promote their own people, but also it was like for them, about them, you know, it was great. It worked out really, really well.
That's
awesome.
That's the move.
That's sweet.
What about, before we jump, what about the 2021 call to actions, which used to be like, would it be the worst thing in the world if we found 10 minutes to chat?
Here's the thing, Chris, I wish, this is probably a hot take, I wish no one found Chris Voss.
Yeah.
And so this is what I mean. This is what I mean by that. Like when someone has found something and then they share with everyone else, they don't know the concept of why that's successful. You just know why that tactic is successful, but psychologically, you don't know why it actually works. So what happens is you see, would you be opposed to, would you be crazy? Because you've seen those call actions. And to be fair, I've used those myself. But then once the tactic is over, if you don't know why that actually works, you're stuck. Which is why I don't like it. Because now, like, that works very well if no one knew what it meant. Now everyone's using it. So the thing is that, like, the good thing is you have to take why that actually works and then just change the call to action. So the reason that works is the power of the no. So no, if people are easier for them to say no, would it be crazy? That's why it works. We all know that. So the thing is, if it's what everyone else is saying, you just have to be like, okay, what is everyone else saying? And then how can I make this sound even more outlandish or do something completely different? Yeah. I also like the fact that Jed's doing the, hey, do you want to see this 2-minute video, 3-minute video, etc. That's actually helpful at the end of the day. But that's like my take, but that might be a hot take there. Like, I feel like it has, so many people have been conditioned to see the Chris Voss call to action. And I think now they're just like, oh, well, here's that thing again. And that's why I always say that even again, if I share a tactic, I'm like, please understand the psychological nature of why this tactic works, so you can take that and then create your own.
Yeah,
that's my take.
I completely agree with that. Yeah.
All right, where can people find y'all? Junior, apparently they can find you in a lot of places. You've been named like 5 different people in this call today.
LinkedIn. Find me on LinkedIn. Ping me your questions. Let's chat. I'm on LinkedIn there.
LinkedIn as well for me.
Cool. All right, y'all. Find Junior and Jed on LinkedIn. Hopefully, y'all found this to be helpful, and you now have some tactics and strategies to be better in your LinkedIn messaging and your email messaging. And we'll see you all in the next one. Cheers, everybody.
Appreciate you guys. See ya.